Hello and welcome to the back end of my studio. And what we're going to be looking at today is how we can take this sketch that I drew on the train the other day on my way to deliver a content velocity seminar, and we're going to take it into Animate CC, turn it into an animatic, and then we're going to bring that into InDesign. So let's get started and see how that all happens. So I'm going to use the iPad to capture my sketch just here. So I'm going to use Adobe Capture, and I'm going to capture a shape and add, and then choose my camera. So here's the sketch. It's in my studio just here. So I'll just come along and try and get out of the way of the light. And I'm just going to start to push up this thresholding slider here. I'm going to tap on the screen because that way I'll get a preview of what I'm doing. And that's about fine, I think. So I'm going to just tap the button on the right hand side, and now I can come along and optimize this. So I'm going to remove all of this rubbish here around the top there, a few little bits here like so, although I can always tweak these a little bit later on. I can zoom in because there's a couple of little bits just around the leg there that I want to get rid of. I'm going to try and get as many tiny bits as I can just to be rid of them. There we are. If I make a mistake, of course, I can always use the keep in shape option here. And that's it. Now that I've got that, I can just pass this across by tapping next up at the top right hand corner. And I can see there's a couple of little bits there I missed, but I can deal with those shortly. So it will trace these, and once they're traced, I'm going to add it to my blog demo library. So I'll just tap next here for the moment, and I'm just going to call this one Deadpool. So cancel out that text there. And that's fine. It's going to save into the blog demo folder, and we'll move across now to Animate CC. So here we are in Animate, and I've got a file open that I created a few moments ago and pasted in this graphic from Illustrator. I've changed the stage color to this kind of deep amber or almost orange color just here. I'm just going to change it to that yellow, and then I'm going to lock that layer, and I'm just going to turn that off just for the time being. So I changed the size here when nothing was selected, and now I'm going to add a movie clip that I can animate independently. So I'm going to go to the insert menu, and I'm going to choose new symbol, and I'll call this Deadpool like so. And then I'm going to go to the library and drag in the file that I made in Capture. So this is the vector version of my pencil and pen sketch. So if I just do that, that arrives like so. Do Command 3, and that takes me to a view of the whole thing, and I can see here already that I've got some things that just need cleaning up, which I suspected that I did have. So I'll just clean those up. It's going to zoom out just a shade, select all. I can't see any other selections popping up anywhere, so I'm going to break this apart to turn it into editable shapes, and then just before I start working on it, I'm going to drag it up to the registration point for the movie clip here like so, and Command 3 or Control 3 to zoom in on that. So I'm going to use the Animate drawing tools here to kind of edit this. So I've got these individual shapes here, and you can bend things around using the Animate tools here. It's very, very cool tool set. You see, it's very easy for me to change those things. I'm also going to use the brush, so I'm just going to tap B here and choose the color that I'm going to work with, which is going to be the black from that object, and then just paint some of these things out like so. So just change that. There's a little bit on the hip just there I want to change, and those bits are fine, and I think I'll come up to here, and these bits here I actually want to do something with those because they look kind of cool. So I think I'm just going to brush a little bit around there. That's nice, and just tidy up this shape a bit. I might even jump in here and use the eraser tool. So if I just tap E for the eraser, it's kind of difficult to see against there. Let me just undo that. That wasn't very delicate at all, so I think I'll just try that again. Just that's better. Shoot across there. good. It's a more interesting shape, and swap back to the brush and just tidy up the bits. There, I might just change the brush size, just using the bracket keys here, bring those down. And I've got pressure turned on as well, so because I'm using a Wacom here, I can do that very, very easily and change that like so. Kind of happy with that where it is. Just want to make that a little bit smaller. In fact, actually, I want to curve that around the bottom there. The smoothing is on for this tool, so that's working pretty well, making a good job of fixing my lines where they're a bit wrong. So let's just do that. And up here, I'm just going to switch out to the eraser here and kind of make a more interesting line there, and get the brush and just wade in and fix the bits I want to fix just there. Okay, so now that I've done that, all I need to do is to tap K on my keyboard. Oh, I've just seen one little bit to fill in just on the shoe just there, so I'll just do that very, very quickly. Zoom in and repair that. Now that I've done that, I'm going to tap K on the keyboard, which gets me the paint bucket tool, and I'm going to choose a colour. So in my library here, I've got some colours. I'm just going to choose this dark red colour just here, and now I can just come along and click in these places and colour this up really, really quickly. So I'm just going to do these just by tapping on those there like so. Zoom in a little bit where I want to apply other colours. So another colour here, I've got this grey, which is going to be a highlight in the black regions there, so I'll change those out like so. And you can see that I need to colour in the eyes here because you can see through them. I'm going to choose one of the colours from the toolbox there, very light grey, just for those. Zoom out and I can get in and fix this bit just here. So this is going to be another highlight using that colour, and then I want to do something with the belt here, and once more I'll use one of the colours from the default palette. Just I want to change that a little bit. I want something a bit sandier. There we go. So I'll just do that, and just with a few clicks I've got all of those bits coloured in. And of course with the Animate tools I can just come along, and if I need to bend shapes around, you see how very easy it is for me to bend them. Provided they're not selected, they will bend, and you'll see if I just mouse down there and pull that around, then I can model all of these shapes the way I want them to be. Perfect, and let's get that in. Perfect. So now I've got all of those parts, what I'm going to do is break this down into separate component clips. And to do that I'm going to be using the lasso tool. So if I just come along here now and zoom in and get the lasso tool, L is the accelerator for the lasso tool up at the top there. I'm pretty much going to go around here, and I'm going to cut in just there and across just to get that. Once I've got that selected, straight up to the modify menu, convert to symbol, give this a name. So we'll just go ahead there like so. I'm actually going to move that out of the way because I want to work with the body in a bit. I'm just going to double click the timeline there just to collapse that for a second, and pan up, holding down the spacebar to do that. So let's do some other fixes just here. I'm just going to get rid of that point, and now I'm going to get the lasso tool, jump in and select this arm like so, modify, convert to symbol, and that would be his right arm, so I'll just call that our arm like so, and then I'll move that out of the way and get back to my lasso tool. I want to kind of select around there like that, move that out of the way and convert that to a symbol. That'll be left arm just there, and I could carry on and do the legs and whatever, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to select the body here like so and convert that to a symbol, also call that body. Then if I want, I can jump in and edit all of these things. So I'm just going to double click on this with the selection tool, and so that will take me in to that symbol. Okay, now I can see in the breadcrumb trail at the top here that I'm currently working in the body movie clip, which is a child of the Deadpool movie clip, which is a child of scene 1. So, and I'm going to do some zooming in here just to do a little bit of fixing in a few places. So I'm going to get the lasso here, and I want to kind of round this off and delete that. I'm going to change the shape. I just wanted to get rid of all the untidy edges that I had just there, so I can kind of bring that out like so. And if I wanted to, I could bend this. Whoops. Just accidentally selected that. It needs to be unselected for this to work. So just do that just there. Get my lasso again. Just take off this hard corner. So in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push across that whole bit there, because that will give me a curve. I can then get the selection tool and pull those parts out. If I'd done one smooth curve, this would be so much easier. In fact, you know what? I'm going to switch to the brush and just paint a curve in just here. Just made a massive brush there and just do that. Sometimes it works that way. It's because of the way this was made. It's got lots and lots of tiny little shapes in it, and all I want is something so that I can get rid of any overlaps with these tools. So back to the selection tool. I'm just going to double tap outside of that. Takes me into the Deadpool puppet, and now I'll work on the arm just here. So I just want to create a little bit of a joint there. Let's just see what I've got. That works really, really well just there. That's great when it does work like that. So you can see I can just build out my little shape here. I've got a corner there that joins up, and now I can get the lasso tool and just clean up the bits that I really want to fix. So let's just go along there. Get those like so. Okay. And that will do just for that. Back to the whole thing. Just do a tiny bit of tidy up on the right arm. I don't think I actually need to do any on the head here. But it's just going to clean this bit up here, which again, I could actually go to the, once I'm in there, go into the shape like so, and just move that corner around. That worked really, really well, actually, on that particular time. I'm going to swap out to the brush, just do a bit of optimization and clean up. Just there, that will work great. I'm not worried about that little dent at the top there, because the head will go over the top of it. I will, just for you, fill that in. So let's have a look at the whole thing now. So now I've got all of those clips. Let's just double click outside that, and let's start to bring these together. To do that, I'm going to use the free transform tool. So if I tap Q on my keyboard, it's up here, of course, at the top of the toolbox. But Q is the accelerator for that. Because what I want to do is actually twofold. These little white markers in here, these are the transformation points for these objects. And I'm actually going to drag them up towards where a joint would be on Deadpool's body. So this one kind of go around with the chest just there. I know there isn't a joint there, but that's where I'm going to put it. Drop this one down to be around by the neck. And then I can just move these into place. So the head's going to go just there. Now I'm just going to bring that to the front. Shift Command up arrow is the quickest way to do that. Or you can right click and choose from the commands there. I'll bring this arm into place there and this arm into place there. So that's looking about right. Once I've done that, I'm going to switch to the bone tool. So I'm going to tap M on my keyboard to get to the bone tool. And now I'm going to start at the chest here and drag up to the head. And that connects and creates a bone between those two things. Now I'm going to drag out to the top of this arm and click and drag out to the top of this arm there like so. And that's it. It's created those bones. Now it has changed the stacking order, but that's easy. It's just a matter of me right clicking as I showed before and saying send that to the back, or using my different keyboard commands. You just need the one thing selected though, unlike the whole lot I had a moment ago. So I'll just select this one thing here. That needs to come where it is actually. We'll have the head up to the front now. So Shift Command up arrow just there. The only other thing I need to do here is that all of these joints at the moment will rotate, and I need to just select the one in the middle, the one on the chest, and in the properties panel turn off joint rotation for that. That means that's kind of locked. The other things that are around it, they can move like so. Okay, so if I move all of those things, that's great. They'll move just fine, but that one will stay put. So now I've got that, I'm going to come out of the puppet just there and pop that into the scene. So I'll go to the library here and just choose Deadpool and drag that on. So I'll just bring that into the movie like so. It's not dragging in, and the reason for that is I need to add another layer for this. So I'll just add a new layer here and call this Deadpool like so. And on both of these layers, I'm just going to go to frame 125 here, around about that, and add a frame in there for those. So just drag down those two and then right click and choose insert frame. There's not going to be any particular motion on this bottom one, so a frame will do just fine. Bring the playhead back here, and now I'll drag Deadpool in, and Deadpool will arrive. Oops, if the layer was active, will arrive like so. Just going to get the free transform tool and the shift key here just to resize that down to size I want it to be. So I'm just going to pop that just there. That's where it's going to end up. If I turn the background on, you can see what the end result's going to look like. So bring that down. There you go. That'll be fine. Now I'm going to come in and perform the animation on the Deadpool puppet. So I'll double click on that, and now I'm in this layer. And this already has a special kind of timeline on it. It's called an armature timeline. I'm going to drag that out to about frame 125 also. So that gives me 5 seconds of animation there at 25 frames a second. All I need to do now is to move the playhead to a different location and then, whoops, move things around. So I'll just get my regular selection tool there. I had the free transform tool. And now I can just bend that around. So bring that arm up just there. So we'll have him so he raises up and points. And I'm going to mess around with the head a bit there. I'm going to just tip the head up a little bit and start it off tipping it down. So you see all of the tweening's taken care of just there. So Deadpool's raising his head and pointing. And then we can start to put in some other frames here. So I'll just move it to different locations. Just a second between each one of these things. And so I'm just going to wobble this around a little bit like so. And you'll see that's all taken care of just there. It's a little bit slower than it would be in real time just at the moment because obviously I'm just dragging it. I'm not letting it play. I'll bring that back down, and we'll bring that back down here also. Just going to hit enter for that to play out. Now by default it will play out to the end of the timeline, so if I hit enter again, then you can see all of that's working. Deadpool lives, perfect. This layer here was just one that was in at the beginning. I can actually remove that layer. I don't really need it. It's just where all the things were in the first place. I can go back to scene 1. So if I drag this, you won't notice any motion. That's because child movie clips don't play inside of this timeline. So we can turn that layer back on. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to come down to about frame 50, round about there. I'm going to come down into the Deadpool layer in the timeline, right-click, and choose Insert Keyframe. Right, so that gives me a key event just here. Right, so Deadpool is here at this particular moment in time. I'm going to go back to frame 1, and then I'm just going to drag Deadpool up off the stage completely, like so. So between frame 1 and frame 49, he's up there, and frame 50, he's down there. I'm now going to right-click on frame 1 and choose Create Classic Tween. Because of the way I'm going to output this, I need it to be a classic tween. And Animate computes the difference between the two frames. So if you see, if I just do that, that lands like so. And I can test that movie by holding down the Command key on a Mac, Control key on a PC, hitting return, and it will push that out to a browser. And so you can see, there you are. There's my tiny little animation there, just ready. Excellent. The only other thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to actually make this available for InDesign. So to do that, I'm going to go to the File menu. And first of all, it'd be a good idea for me to save it. So I'm just going to save it into a location just here. That'll be fine for the time being. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the File menu, come down to Publish Settings. I'm going to choose an OAM package that will wrap this up so InDesign can read it. And that's fine, so I'm going to let it generate a static frame from the current frame. I'm just going to choose Publish. That will publish that at exactly the same location as the file is saved. So I'll hit OK. And then we're going to move across into InDesign where we can load in the OAM file. And here's the InDesign document ready to go and to load the OAM. I'm just going to go to File, Place, and it's there on my desktop. So I'm going to bring that in and drag that out to fill this area just here. It's a vector file, so I don't need to worry about size on it at all. And if I now go for the EPUB interactivity panel and get it to play this spread, then you'll see the animation drops down. And it will carry on and loop. You can see the animation of it dropping down will just loop over and over. So to stop that, I need to go back into Animate and do a little bit of work. So I'm just going to go for the timeline here. And I'm going to actually scroll out to the end of this motion. On the last frame here, I'm going to right click and choose to insert a keyframe. I'm then going to right click and choose Actions. And so this will open up the Actions panel. And I have some code snippets. The actual code isn't that difficult. It's actually this dot stop, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, semicolon. Okay, but I'll just get rid of that and show you how easy it is to add from the code snippets. So just go to the brackets there and go HTML5 canvas, timeline navigation, and then just double click stop at this frame. Okay, now it adds an actions layer for you, which is best practice to have that. And you can see there is that, and this is a comment at the top there telling you what it's doing. Now I've done that, I can close the actions panel and the code snippets panel, republish this document. So I'll save that, pop back to InDesign, just close that panel there. You can see this is an out of date link, so I'm just going to update that. So that'll update now. Open the interactivity panel and get it to play the spread. So this animation plays, and that's it. It's done. That animation stops where it is, but all of the child animations, the wobbling around there, that stays completely live. And there you go. That's how you can go from a sketch in your sketchbook, use Capture to bring it into Creative Cloud via a library, and then turn it into an animatic inside of Animate CC and use it either on a web page or some other device or in InDesign.